The dust on the dead planet had not moved in 10,000 years. Day One stood at the entrance of the vault, his helmet light cutting through the darkness like a knife. Behind him, Jiwoo was shouting something through the radio, but he had already muted her voice. She always worried too much. She always told him to wait, to follow procedure, to let the robots go first. But robots could not feel what he felt. They could not sense the pull of this place. The vault entrance was massive, carved from black stone that seemed to drink in light rather than reflect it. Strange symbols covered every surface, flowing and shifting when he looked at them directly. His scanner could not read them. His computer could not translate them. That made them perfect. Day One had spent 15 years studying dead civilizations across 40 star systems. He had crawled through collapsed temples on worlds where the air could kill him in seconds. He had decoded languages that no living being remembered. This vault was different, though. This vault felt alive. He stepped inside, the temperature dropped immediately. His suit adjusted, pumping warm air across his skin. The corridor ahead stretched into darkness, but as he walked forward, lights began to glow along the walls. Not electric lights. Something else. They pulsed gently like a heartbeat, blue and silver in colors he had no names for. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. Day One stopped breathing for a moment. Crystals filled the room. They grew from the floor, the walls, the ceiling, each one larger than a human being. They glowed with inner light, casting shadows that moved without any source. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal, and on that pedestal sat a small object. It looked like a sphere, but as Day One approached, he realized it was constantly changing shape. Sphere to cube to something with angles that hurt to look at directly. His hand reached out. Stop. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It echoed inside his skull, bypassing his ears entirely. Day One froze, his hand centimeters from the object. Light gathered in front of him. It swirled and condensed, taking shape. A figure formed, humanoid, but clearly not human. She stood slightly taller than him, her body composed of flowing energy patterns that resembled skin but moved like water. Her face was beautiful and terrible at once, with eyes that held depths of time he could not comprehend. "You should not be here," she said. Her voice carried multiple tones, as if several people spoke in perfect unison. Day One lowered his hand slowly. His heart pounded, but not from fear, from excitement. "You're the Guardian," he said. "I knew someone had to be protecting this place." The figure tilted her head. The motion seemed curious. "I am Nara. I have guarded this vault for longer than your species has had language." "You are human, yes? The young race from the small blue world?" "Earth," Day One confirmed. "My name is Day One. I'm an archaeologist. I study places like this. Then you should know better than to touch what you do not understand." "I know exactly what I'm doing." Nara moved closer, and Day One felt pressure against his chest, though she had not physically touched him. "Do you? This vault contains technology that could unmake solar systems, weapons that could sterilize entire galaxies. My people built them in fear, and that fear destroyed us. I remain here to ensure no one ever uses them again." Day One looked at the shifting object on the pedestal. "If they're so dangerous, why not destroy them?" "They cannot be destroyed, only contained, only guarded." Nara's energy patterns flowed faster, suggesting agitation. "For 10,000 years I have turned away treasure hunters and conquerors. Species far older and more powerful than yours have tried to claim what lies here. All have failed, because of you, because they could not pass the test." Day One's eyes lit up. "There's a test?" Nara's form flickered. For a moment she seemed surprised. "You are excited by this?" "Most beings feel fear when they meet me. Some feel greed. You feel curiosity." "I've wanted to meet someone like you my entire life," Day One said honestly. "Do you know how rare it is to find living remnants of ancient civilizations? Most of what I study is dust and echoes. But you're real. You have answers to questions we've been asking for centuries." "I have warnings," Nara corrected. "I have prohibitions. I exist to say no. Have you ever said yes?" The question seemed to catch her off guard. Her energy pattern slowed, becoming almost still. "No one has ever asked that before." "Then I'll be the first." Day One smiled behind his helmet. "My whole life people have told me no. No, don't touch that artifact. No, don't enter that structure. No, don't try to communicate with that alien device. But I always do it anyway, and I'm still here. Your species is reckless. We prefer the term bold. Nara moved around him in a circle, studying him from every angle. I can see your thoughts on the surface of your mind. You are thinking about touching the artifact despite my warning. You are thinking about it right now. Guilty, Daewon admitted. One more touch and you will be entombed here, Nara said, her voice dropping to something that might have been a whisper. The vault will seal. Its defenses will activate. You will die slowly, merged with the stone, aware but unable to move or speak. I have seen it happen to those who defied me. It is not a pleasant fate. Daewon looked at the artifact. He looked at Nara. He looked at his own hand. I believe you, he said. But I also believe there's more to this story. You've been alone here for 10,000 years. That's a long time for anyone. Nara's form flickered again. You cannot possibly understand, maybe not. But I'd like to try. They stood in silence for a long moment. The crystals pulsed with light around them. Finally, Nara spoke again. Leave this place, Daewon of Earth. Leave and do not return. This is my first and only warning. What if I come back tomorrow? To talk, not to touch anything. Why would you do that? Because you're interesting. Because I have questions. Because 10,000 years is too long for anyone to be alone. Nara said nothing. Her energy patterns had become unreadable, flowing in complex patterns he could not interpret. Daewon turned and walked back toward the entrance. At the threshold, he looked back. Nara still stood by the pedestal, watching him. I'll see you tomorrow, he called out. He could have sworn her light grew slightly brighter before he left. Outside the vault, Jiwoo was waiting with crossed arms and an expression of pure fury. She launched into a lecture about safety protocols and proper procedure. Daewon nodded and agreed to everything she said, but his mind was already planning his return. The Guardian was lonely. He could hear it in her voice, see it in the way she had studied him. And if there was one thing humans were good at, it was befriending the impossible. Tomorrow he would go back, and the day after that, and every day until Nara understood that some warnings were really invitations in disguise. Daewon returned the next day just as he had promised. Nara appeared the moment he entered the chamber. This time she manifested instantly as if she had been waiting. Her energy form seemed brighter than before, the patterns flowing more quickly across her surface. You came back, she said. It was not a question, but there was something in her voice that suggested surprise. I said I would. Daewon sat down on the floor, crossing his legs casually. He placed his helmet beside him. Is it okay if I take this off? The air in here is breathable, according to my scanner. The vault maintains atmospheric conditions suitable for most carbon-based life forms, Nara said. But you should not be comfortable here. You should be afraid. Why? You already warned me not to touch anything. I won't. He looked up at her with genuine curiosity. What was your world like before it ended? Nara remained silent for a long moment. Then slowly she began to speak. Beautiful. We had 7 moons and 2 suns. Our cities floated in the sky, held aloft by technology you could not comprehend. We had mastered physics, biology, consciousness itself. We thought we were gods. What happened? We encountered another species. They were expanding, aggressive, technologically advanced. We became afraid. Fear makes people do terrible things, Daewon. We built weapons to protect ourselves. Weapons that could destroy stars, reshape planets, unmake reality at its fundamental level, and then we turned those weapons on each other. Civil war? Worse, paranoia. We stopped trusting our own people. Every faction built bigger weapons, convinced the others would strike first. In the end, we destroyed everything. I survived only because I was chosen to guard the most dangerous creations. My consciousness was bound to this vault, made immortal, made inescapable. Everyone I knew died. Everything I loved turned to dust. Daewon sat quietly, absorbing her words. I'm sorry. Why? You did not cause this. Because you lost everything. Because you're still here, carrying that weight. That deserves acknowledgement. Nara moved closer. Her form cast strange shadows on the walls. Your species is very young. You have barely left your home system. Why do you not fear the same fate? Oh, we probably will destroy ourselves eventually, Daewon said with a sad smile. Humans are really good at finding new ways to hurt each other. We've had countless wars, built weapons that could end all life on Earth. But we also keep trying. We keep reaching out. We keep hoping that maybe, just maybe, we can be better than our worst impulses. That is foolish hope. Probably. But it's kept us going this far. This became their pattern. Every day, Daewon would return to the vault. Every day he and Nara would talk. She told him about her people's history, their achievements, their failures. He told her about Earth, about human culture, about music and art, and the strange way humans found meaning in chaos. Jiwoo noticed, of course. On the 5th day, she cornered him in the research station's cafeteria. "You need to stop going in there," she said, her voice tight with worry. "You're spending hours alone with an alien entity we don't understand. What if she's manipulating you?" "She's not," Daewon said calmly. "How do you know?" "Because she's been alone for 10,000 years, Jiwoo. She's not trying to trick me. She's just lonely. That doesn't make her safe." "I never said she was safe. I said she was lonely." "There's a difference." Jiwoo ran a hand through her hair in frustration. "Captain Taeyang is asking questions. He wants to know what you're doing in there. He's talking about sending in a military team to secure the vault." Daewon's expression hardened. "Tell him to stay out. If he sends soldiers in there, Nara will see them as a threat. The vault's defenses will activate. Maybe that's what we need to see. Maybe we need to know what this thing can really do. You want to get people killed just to gather data? I want to keep you safe." They stared at each other across the table. Finally, Daewon's expression softened. "I appreciate that, really, but I know what I'm doing." "Do you?" "Because from where I'm standing, you're getting obsessed with something dangerous." She was not entirely wrong. Daewon could feel himself being pulled deeper into Nara's orbit. Their conversations had become the highlight of his days. He found himself thinking about her even when he was not in the vault, wondering about her past, about what she thought of him. On the 10th day, something changed. Daewon entered the chamber to find Nara already manifested. But her energy patterns were erratic, flickering between colors. She seemed agitated. "What's wrong?" he asked immediately. "You should not keep coming here," she said. Her multiple voices sounded distressed. "I am dangerous, Daewon. The vault is dangerous. Every day you return, you risk activating defenses you cannot comprehend. Then help me understand them." "I cannot. That is the point. The knowledge itself is dangerous." Daewon approached her slowly. "Nara, what happened? We've been talking for days without any problems." "Because I have been holding back the vault's security protocols," she said. "It recognizes you as a recurring threat now. It wants to contain you. I am fighting its programming every moment you are here. If I falter even for a second, it will entomb you like it has entombed others. So we figure out how to turn off those protocols." "Impossible. They are hard-coded into the vault's foundation. They cannot be removed without destroying everything. There has to be another way. There is not." Nara's form flared bright. "This is why I warned you. This is why I told you to leave. I am not like you, Daewon. I cannot change. I cannot grow. I am a prison guard, and this chamber is my prison as much as it would be yours." The pain in her voice hit him like a physical blow. Without thinking, Daewon reached out. His hand passed through her energy form, and for a brief moment he felt something. Warmth. Loneliness deeper than oceans. Desperation that had lasted millennia. Then the vault screamed. Light erupted from every crystal. Alarms blared in frequencies that made his bones ache. The entrance behind him slammed shut with a sound like thunder. The air itself seemed to congeal, becoming thick and resistant. Nara's form solidified. "No," she whispered. "No, what have you done?" Daewon looked at his hand, then at the sealed entrance. "I touched you. That counts as touching something forbidden, doesn't it? You should not have been able to touch me at all. You should not have felt anything unless—" Her energy patterns shifted to something that might have been horror. "Unless the vault has already begun integrating you." Outside, Jiwoo's voice crackled over the radio. "Daewon, the vault entrance just sealed. What's happening in there?" He tried to respond, but his communicator emitted only static. Nara moved closer, her form now containing visible distress. "I cannot override this. The touch was registered as an intrusion attempt. The entombment sequence has begun. How long do I have? Days, maybe a week. You will become part of the vault structure. Your consciousness will remain aware but trapped, unable to move, unable to die. You will join the others who defied the warnings." Daewon looked around the chamber. He did not feel afraid. Instead, he felt strangely calm. "Then we'd better figure out how to reverse this process. You do not understand. You are going to die here, slowly, horribly. I understand perfectly." He met her eyes, those deep pools of time and sorrow. "But I'm not dying alone, am I?" "You'll be here." Nara's form flickered. "How can you be calm about this? Because being afraid won't help. Because I still think there's a way out. And because, he paused, choosing his words carefully. Because I think maybe this is what the test was always about. What do you mean? You said species come here seeking power. They see the weapons, the technology, the potential for conquest. But what if the real test isn't about resisting temptation? What if it's about connection? Nara stared at him. For the first time since they had met, she seemed genuinely speechless. Outside, Jiwoo and Captain Tae-yang were mobilizing rescue teams. But inside the vault, Daewon and Nara stood facing each other, both trapped now, both uncertain of the future. The entombment had begun. The clock was ticking, and somewhere in the ancient programming of a dead civilization, a test was unfolding that no one had expected. Time moved strangely in the sealed vault. Daewon had lost track of how many hours had passed since the entrance closed. His suit's chronometer said it had been 2 days, but it felt both longer and shorter than that. He sat with his back against one of the large crystals. Its surface was warm, pulsing with that steady heartbeat rhythm. His body felt heavier now, slower. When he moved his hand, there was resistance, as if the air itself was becoming solid around him. Nara manifested nearby, her energy form dimmer than before. She had explained that maintaining her presence required energy, and fighting the vault's integration protocols drained her constantly. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I'm moving underwater," Daewon replied honestly. "My fingers are getting stiff. There's a tingling sensation spreading up from my feet. The vault is beginning to incorporate your physical structure into its matrix. Soon crystalline structures will begin forming inside your body. The process is irreversible once it reaches your vital organs." "How long?" 4 days. "Perhaps 5. Daewon nodded slowly. He had already accepted this possibility when he first entered the vault. Fear seemed pointless now. "Tell me about your people's music." "Did you have music?" Nara flickered with surprise. "That is what you wish to discuss? Your impending death does not concern you more? I'd rather spend whatever time I have left learning about you than panicking about things I can't control." "So, music?" She was quiet for a moment, then her form began to shift. Colors flowed across her surface in patterns that seemed deliberate, rhythmic. A sound filled the chamber, not quite music as humans understood it, but something close. It was like hearing light itself sing. "We experienced art through electromagnetic harmonics," she explained. "What you are seeing and hearing is a childhood lullaby. My mother used to project this pattern when I was afraid." "It's beautiful," Daewon said softly. "Can you show me more?" And so they shared. Nara showed him the art of her people, the way they had woven meaning into light and energy. Daewon talked about human music, about how sound could make people cry or dance or remember moments long past. He sang for her, his voice rough and imperfect in the vast chamber. "You are not very good at this," Nara observed. But there was something in her tone that might have been amusement. "Humans aren't built for perfect pitch. We're built for feeling." He smiled despite his worsening condition. "That's kind of our thing, actually. We're not the strongest or fastest or smartest species out there, but we feel things deeply. That seems like a weakness. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's our greatest strength." Outside the vault, Jiwoo had not given up. She and Captain Tae-yang had assembled a team of engineers and scientists. They worked around the clock, trying to find a way to breach the sealed entrance without triggering more defenses. "We've tried everything," one engineer reported, exhaustion clear in his voice. "Cutting beams, plasma torches, even low-frequency sonic disruptors. Nothing even scratches the surface. Whatever material this is made from, it's beyond our technology." Captain Tae-yang stood with his arms crossed, staring at the sealed entrance. He was a tall man with gray in his hair and eyes that had seen too many good people die. "What about explosives?" "Sir, the scanning team detected massive energy readings beneath the surface. If we detonate explosives, we might trigger a chain reaction. We could destroy the entire research station. So we just let him die in there." Jiwoo slammed her fist on the table. "There has to be something we can do. We didn't come all this way to lose people to alien security systems." "Maybe the Guardian will let him out," someone suggested. "The Guardian is the one who trapped him," another voice countered. Jiwoo shook her head. "No, I know Daewon. I've worked with him for 7 years. He wouldn't keep going back in there if he thought the Guardian was truly hostile. There's something else happening. Something we don't understand yet." Inside the vault, Daewon's condition continued to deteriorate. By the 3rd day, he could barely stand. Small crystals had begun forming on his skin, growing from within his body outward. They did not hurt, but they felt wrong, foreign. Nara stayed close to him constantly now, her energy form wrapped around him like a protective cocoon, trying to slow the process. It was not working, but Day One appreciated the effort. "Why are you doing this?" he asked during one of his more lucid moments. "You could just let it happen faster. Get it over with." "I do not want you to die," Nara said simply. "Why?" "You barely know me." "Because in 10,000 years you are the first being who looked at me and saw a person rather than an obstacle. You asked me about my mother's lullaby. No one has ever asked me about such things." Day One managed a weak laugh. "Humans are naturally nosy. We can't help ourselves. It is more than curiosity. You have empathy. You feel what others feel, even when it serves no practical purpose. Empathy always serves a purpose. It connects us. It reminds us that we're not alone." "But you are alone," Nara said quietly. "You are trapped here dying with only me for company. Then I'm not alone at all, am I?" Nara's form pulsed with an emotion Day One could not identify. She moved closer, her energy flowing around his crystallizing body. "I must confess something. I could have prevented this." "What do you mean?" "When you reached out to touch me, I felt your intention. I knew what would happen. The Vault's protocols gave me a fraction of a second to solidify my form completely, to make myself untouchable. I chose not to." Day One stared at her. "Why?" "Because I did not want you to leave." The words came out in a rush as if she had been holding them back for days. 10,000 years of solitude, Day One. 10,000 years of nothing but duty and silence and the screaming memories of everyone I lost. When you came here, when you kept returning, when you looked at me like I mattered, I wanted you to stay. So I let the Vault trap you. I am the monster you should fear. The confession hung in the air between them. Day One processed this slowly. His mind felt foggy from the integration process, but he forced himself to think clearly. Finally, he spoke. "Do you know what solitary confinement is?" Nara tilted her form, confused by the question. "On Earth, it's considered one of the worst punishments. Humans need social contact. Without it, we go insane. Studies show that even a few weeks of total isolation can cause permanent psychological damage. You've endured 10,000 years of it. That does not excuse what I did. I'm not excusing it. I'm understanding it." Day One tried to lift his hand, but the crystals made movement difficult. "You're not a monster, Nara. You're someone who's been hurt beyond what anyone should have to bear. You made a choice based on desperation, and now you feel guilty about it. That's not monstrous. That's actually pretty human. I doomed you to death. You gave yourself a companion when you needed one most. And honestly, if our positions were reversed, I might have done the same thing." Nara's energy patterns swirled chaotically. "How can you forgive this? How can you not hate me? Because hate won't save me. And because I understand what loneliness can do to a person. We all make mistakes when we're desperate. Your species is incomprehensible. We get that a lot." They sat in silence for a while. Then Nara spoke again, her voice different now. Determined, there must be a way to reverse this. The Vault was designed by brilliant minds. They would not create a test without a solution. "We have been approaching this wrong." Day One blinked. "What changed?" "You forgave me. No species I have encountered has demonstrated such irrational compassion. Perhaps that is the answer we have been missing. Perhaps the test is not about intelligence or power. Perhaps it is about something else entirely. Like what? Like trust. Like connection. Like the very things that make your species so peculiar and frustrating and..." She paused. "And wonderful." Day One smiled despite the crystals spreading across his face. "Now you're thinking like a human. That may be the most insulting and complimentary thing anyone has ever said to me. I'm talented like that." Together they began to study the Vault with new eyes. Not as a prison, but as a puzzle. Not as an ending, but as a challenge waiting to be solved. And in the back of his crystallizing mind, Day One held on to hope. Because if humans were good at anything, it was finding ways out of impossible situations. Day One could no longer move his legs. The crystals had spread up to his waist, merging his body with the Vault floor. His breathing was shallow, labored. Each inhale felt like pulling air through stone. But his mind remained clear, sharp even, as if the integration process had connected him to something vast and ancient. Nara hovered close, her energy form wrapped around his upper body. She had not left his side in hours. "I can feel the Vault now," Day One said quietly. "Not just physically, I can sense its systems, its purpose. It's like hearing a conversation in another room. I can't make out the words yet, but I know something is being said. The integration is accelerating, Nara replied. Your consciousness is beginning to merge with the Vault's network. Soon you will be able to access its full knowledge. But by then your body will be completely crystallized. You will be aware but unable to act. The others you mentioned. The ones who were entombed before me. Can you show me where they are? Nara hesitated, then gestured toward the far wall. Daewon's enhanced perception followed her indication, and he saw them. Dozens of crystalline forms embedded in the walls, each one containing the vague outline of a different alien species. Their faces were frozen in various expressions. Some looked angry. Some looked frightened. One looked almost peaceful. They came seeking power, Nara explained. They ignored my warnings. They touched what should not be touched. The Vault preserved them as examples, as deterrents. Did you talk to any of them? Before they were fully integrated? No, they screamed at me. They cursed me. They begged. But none of them tried to understand. None of them asked me questions or treated me as anything other than an obstacle to overcome. Daewon looked at those frozen faces. They were alone in their final moments. That's the saddest part. They died angry and afraid with no one to comfort them. You are dying and yet you pity them? Someone should. Everyone deserves to be mourned by somebody. Nara's form pulsed with deep emotion. I have spent 10,000 years judging those who entered this place. I measured them by their actions, their intentions, their worthiness. But you are the first to make me question those judgments. What if some of them were simply frightened? What if some acted out of desperation rather than greed? We're all just doing our best with what we know, Daewon said. Most beings aren't purely good or purely evil. We're complicated. We make mistakes. We hurt people without meaning to. The question isn't whether we mess up. It's whether we try to do better afterward. Like me, Nara said softly, I trapped you out of loneliness. That was selfish, wrong. But I am trying to save you now. And I forgave you. That's how trust works. Someone makes a mistake. Someone else shows compassion, and maybe together they find a way forward that neither could have found alone. Nara was silent for a long moment. Then she said something that changed everything. I think I understand now. I think I understand what my people were trying to create here. What do you mean? The Vault is not just a prison. It is a test, yes, but not the kind I thought. My people did not destroy themselves purely through war. They destroyed themselves through isolation. Each faction became so afraid of the others that they stopped communicating, stopped trusting, stopped seeing each other as people. They had all the technology in the universe, but they lost the ability to connect. Daewon felt his heart beat faster despite his crystallized chest. So the Vault is designed to find a species that can bridge that gap. A species that can look at something alien and terrifying and still choose connection over conquest. The test is not about resisting the weapons. It is about resisting the isolation. How do we prove we've passed? That is what I have been trying to understand. The Vault's protocols are complex, but I am beginning to see patterns. There is a mechanism, a failsafe built into the deepest levels of the system, but accessing it requires something I cannot do alone. What? Nara moved closer, her energy form taking on a more solid appearance. It requires complete trust between the Guardian and the intruder. The kind of trust that makes one being vulnerable to another. The kind of trust that should be impossible between enemies. We're not enemies. The Vault does not know that yet. It only recognizes threat patterns and defensive responses. But there is a way to show it. A way to demonstrate that the test has been passed. Tell me. I would need to transfer my consciousness into yours completely. Not just a surface connection, but full integration. You would have access to all my memories, all my knowledge, all my power. And in that moment, you could destroy me. You could take control of the Vault and all its weapons. You would become the most powerful being in this sector of space. Daewon understood immediately. And if I don't betray you, if I prove that I can hold that power without using it, the Vault recognizes the test has passed. Theoretically. But Daewon, you must understand what I am asking. If I do this, I will be completely helpless. 10,000 years of existence, all my memories of my people, everything I am. It will be in your hands. If you choose to harm me, I cannot stop you. I will simply cease to exist. You've been alone for 10,000 years. That trust must be terrifying. It is the most frightening thing I have ever contemplated. But you're considering it anyway. Because the alternative is watching you die, and I find that I cannot bear that outcome. Day One felt tears forming in his eyes. The crystals around them seemed to glow brighter, responding to his emotion. Nara, I need to tell you something. I'm scared too. Not of dying, but of failing you. What if I'm not strong enough? What if the vault's knowledge overwhelms me? What if I accidentally hurt you? That is the nature of trust. It requires both parties to accept risk. It requires both parties to believe in something that cannot be proven until it is done. My people have a saying, leap and the net will appear. It means sometimes you have to take a chance even when you can't see how it will work out. That is a terrible philosophy for survival. Yeah, but it's great for making friends. Nara laughed. The sound was strange, a cascade of harmonics that had not been heard in the vault for millennia. You are proposing that I risk my entire existence on a human idiom about leaping? When you put it that way, it does sound pretty stupid. It is the most irrational thing I have heard in 10,000 years. So, is that a yes? Nara's form stabilized, her energy patterns becoming calm and centered. I have been a prisoner of fear for so long. Fear of being alone, fear of being hurt, fear of making mistakes. But you have shown me something I had forgotten. Something my people lost before they destroyed themselves. What's that? Hope. The irrational belief that things can get better even when all evidence suggests otherwise. The willingness to take a risk on someone else's goodness. She moved closer until her energy form nearly merged with his body. Yes, Day One. That is a yes. I will trust you with everything I am. When? Now, before your integration is complete. Before I lose my courage. Day One took a deep breath, or tried to. His lungs felt heavy. Okay, what do I need to do? Simply accept me. Open your mind and let me in. The rest will happen naturally. Nara? Yes? Thank you. For giving me this chance. For trusting me. Thank you for seeing me as a person rather than a guardian. Thank you for these past few days. They have been the least lonely of my entire existence. Outside the vault, Jiwoo stood at the sealed entrance. She had not slept in days. Her team had tried everything they could think of and nothing had worked. They were preparing for the worst. Should we send a message to his family? Captain Taeyang asked quietly. Not yet, Jiwoo said. Not while there's still hope. Jiwoo, it's been 4 days. I said not yet. Inside, Daewon closed his eyes and opened his mind. He felt Nara's presence approaching, vast and ancient and impossibly fragile. She was like an ocean trying to fit into a cup, a star condensing into a single point of light. And then she poured herself into him. The universe exploded behind his eyes. 10,000 years of memory flooded through his consciousness. He saw Nara's world before it fell, beautiful and doomed. He felt her fear as the wars began, her grief as everything ended, her crushing loneliness as the centuries passed. And beneath it all, he felt her hope, small and stubborn and ridiculous, the hope that someday someone would come, someone who would understand, someone who would care. That hope had kept her alive when she should have faded. That hope had allowed her to wait when waiting seemed impossible. That hope was the most human thing Daewon had ever felt from an alien mind. He held her carefully, protectively, like one might hold something infinitely precious and infinitely fragile. I've got you, he whispered. You're safe. And deep in the ancient systems of the vault, something began to change. He existed simultaneously in his crystallizing body, and in 10,000 years of collected memory, he could feel every system in the vault, every sensor, every defensive protocol. Knowledge flowed through him like water, ancient and deep. He understood weapons that could unmake suns. He comprehended technology that bent space and time. He held secrets that civilizations had killed for. And cradled within all of that power, vulnerable and small, was Nara's consciousness. She existed as pure awareness now, without form or defense. Everything she was, every memory she held precious, every fear and hope and dream, lay exposed before him. He could examine her completely. He could alter her. He could erase her with a thought. The vault systems recognized the situation. Protocols activated, presenting him with options. He could claim the vault's arsenal. He could become a god of destruction. He could reshape this entire region of space according to his will. All he had to do was betray the trust of a being who had waited 10,000 years for connection. Daewon felt the temptation. It would be easy to justify. He could tell himself he would use the power responsibly. He could convince himself that humanity needed these weapons for protection. He could rationalize anything if he tried hard enough. Instead, he did something that no other species had done in the Vault's long history. He pulled Nara closer and held her, not to examine her, not to control her, simply to comfort her. I know you're afraid, he thought toward her presence. I would be too, but I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because we're friends. And friends don't betray each other no matter what's at stake. Nara's consciousness trembled against his. The Vault is offering you everything. I can feel it. Why are you not taking it? Because I don't want everything. I want you to be okay. That's more important. That makes no sense. You are dying. You have access to technology that could save you, could make you immortal. Why not use it? Because immortality bought with betrayal isn't worth living. Around them, the Vault systems began to respond, not with defensive protocols but with something else, something that felt like recognition. The ancient programming examined Daewon's choice, analyzed his reasoning, measured his actions against parameters set by a civilization long dead. And slowly the Vault began to understand. Daewon felt new information flowing into his consciousness. Not weapons data or destructive capabilities, but something different. Blueprints for the Vault itself. Schematics of its core systems. And buried deep within those systems, he saw it. The test's true solution. Nara, he thought. I found something, look. He shared his discovery with her, letting her see through his eyes. The Vault had always been reversible. The entombment process could be undone. But the mechanism required something specific. It required proof that two beings, guardian and intruder, could merge consciousness without either one attempting to dominate the other. It was a test of cooperation rather than conquest. A test of trust rather than strength. Your people built this as a message, Daewon realized. They destroyed themselves through fear and isolation, but before they died, they created this Vault as a lesson. They wanted to ensure that no other species made the same mistake. But so many have failed, Nara's presence whispered. So many came here and chose power over connection. Because they saw you as an obstacle instead of a person. They saw the Vault as a prize instead of a warning. They were looking at it all wrong. And you saw it correctly? No, I just saw you as someone worth talking to. The rest followed from that. Nara's consciousness expanded slightly, gaining confidence. Show me what we must do. Together they examined the solution. It required perfect synchronization. Daewon would need to channel the Vault's power through Nara's consciousness, while she provided the control and precision his human mind lacked. They would need to work as one being, two minds in perfect harmony, to execute the reversal sequence. One mistake would kill them both. This is not a small risk, Nara observed. Nothing worth doing ever is. You could still choose the weapons. You could save yourself and leave me behind. I could also punch myself in the face repeatedly, but I'm not going to do that either. Can we please stop questioning whether I'm going to betray you? I've made my choice. You're stuck with me. He felt Nara's presence warm with something that might have been affection or might have been amusement or might have been both. Very well. Let us attempt this impossibility together. They began. Daewon accessed the Vault's power systems, feeling energy flow through his consciousness like liquid light. It was intoxicating, dangerous, vast, beyond human comprehension. He felt his sense of self start to dissolve, to merge with the infinite. Nara's presence wrapped around him like a lifeline. Focus on me, she urged. Remember who you are. Remember why we are doing this. He held on to her consciousness, using it as an anchor. Together they directed the Vault's energy toward the crystalline structures invading his body. The power fought them, resisted their control. The Vault's defensive systems recognized what they were attempting and tried to stop them. It is fighting us, Nara said, because it's still scared. It's been programmed to protect itself, to never let anything escape once trapped. We need to show it that we're not trying to conquer it. We're trying to free it. Free it? The Vault has been a prison for you and a trap for everyone else. That's not what your people wanted. They wanted it to be a teacher, a guardian, a beacon of hope. Let's give it that purpose. Daewon reached deeper into the Vault's core programming. He found the original intentions buried beneath millennia of security protocols. He found the hopes and dreams of Nara's people, encoded in pure mathematics and quantum states. They had wanted to leave something beautiful behind, something that would help other species avoid their fate. Fear had twisted that intention into something cruel, but the original design was still there, waiting to be reactivated. Nara, can you access the primary directive subsystems? Yes, but they are locked behind authentication protocols that no longer exist. We don't need authentication. We have something better. We have proof of concept. You trusted me, I didn't betray you, and now we're working together to solve an impossible problem. That's the whole point. That's what your people wanted to see. They worked in perfect harmony now, two consciousnesses moving as one. Day one provided the human intuition, the willingness to take leaps of logic that computer systems could not follow. Nara provided the precision, the deep understanding of her people's technology and thought processes. Together they reached the heart of the vault. The central core was a thing of devastating beauty, pure energy contained in impossible geometries, maintaining itself through quantum coherence that should have collapsed billions of years ago. It was alive in its own way, conscious after a fashion, lonely as only a machine could be. It has been alone too, Nara whispered, all this time maintaining its vigil, with no one to tell it that its creators were gone, no one to release it from duty. Then let's set everyone free, Daewon said. They reached out together, consciousness merging with the vault's core. They showed it everything, the 10,000 years of Nara's isolation, the moment of Daewon's choice to care rather than conquer, the connection they had built through conversation and trust and mutual vulnerability. The vault examined their offering. It processed, analyzed, compared against ancient parameters, and then it made a choice of its own. Light exploded through every crystal in the chamber. The energy was not defensive or aggressive. It was joyful, if such a thing could be attributed to an ancient machine. The vault had found what it was looking for. After 10 millennia of failed tests and violent intrusions, it had finally met beings who understood what it was trying to teach. The crystalline structures began to withdraw from Daewon's body, not forcefully but gently, carefully, as if the vault itself was apologizing for the harm it had caused. Feeling returned to his legs. His lungs expanded fully. His heart beat without resistance. The sealed entrance groaned and began to open. Outside, Jiwoo jumped to her feet. Something's happening. The massive doors swung wide, flooding the corridor with light. Inside the chamber, Daewon gasped as Nara's consciousness separated from his, reforming into her energy body beside him. But something was different now. She was no longer bound to the vault. Her form was free, independent, able to move beyond the chamber's confines. We did it, he said, his voice hoarse. We did it, Nara agreed, and her multiple voices harmonized with wonder. The vault systems displayed a final message, visible only to them. It was written in a language older than stars, but they both understood it perfectly now. Test passed. Welcome, inheritors. Use this knowledge wisely. Never forget the cost of isolation. And with that, the vault's weapon systems sealed themselves permanently, inaccessible forevermore. But the knowledge remained. The lesson remained. The proof that connection could triumph over conquest remained. Daewon stood on shaky legs, Nara's energy form supporting him. Together they walked toward the open entrance where Jiwoo and Captain Tae-yang stood staring in disbelief. You're alive, Jiwoo breathed. We both are, Daewon said, gesturing to Nara, and we have a lot to talk about. The research station's medical bay was not designed for someone who had been partially crystallized by alien technology. Daewon lay on an examination table while 3 different scanners hummed around him, each one showing results that confused the medical staff. Your cellular structure is different, Dr. Hana said, studying her screens with a frown. There are trace elements of exotic matter integrated into your DNA. Nothing harmful, but definitely permanent. You are probably the first modified human in history. Great, Daewon muttered. Do I get superpowers? You get to be a medical curiosity. Try not to get studied to death by eager xenobiologists. Jiwoo sat in the corner, her arms crossed. She had not stopped staring at Nara's energy form, which hovered near the wall. The Guardian had been following Daewon since they left the vault, unwilling to be separated. I still don't understand how this happened, Jiwoo said. You were dying. The vault was killing you, and now you're walking around like nothing happened, with an ancient alien entity as your personal companion. I told you, we passed the test. Tests don't usually involve nearly dying and merging consciousnesses. The good ones do. Captain Tae-yang entered the medical bay, his expression serious. We need to talk. All of you, including the Guardian. They moved to a conference room. Nara manifested more solidly now, her energy form taking a chair-like position across from the humans. It was strange seeing her in such a mundane setting. In the vault, she had seemed like a force of nature. Here, Surrounded by ordinary furniture and computer screens, she seemed almost vulnerable. I have been in contact with Central Command, Tae Yang began. They want a full report on what happened in the vault. They also want to know what we plan to do with the Guardian and the technology she represents. Nara, Daewon corrected. Her name is Nara, and she's not a what, she's a who. Tae Yang sighed. Fine. They want to know what we plan to do with Nara. There are already diplomatic complications. 3 different alien factions have contacted us, demanding access to the vault. They claim humanity has no right to monopolize ancient technology. The vault sealed itself, Nara interjected. Its weapon systems are permanently inaccessible. I am free, but the dangerous technology remains contained. Can you verify that? Tae Yang asked. Nara's form pulsed. I can show you. She projected images into the air, holographic displays showing the vault's current status. Every weapon system, every piece of dangerous technology, every tool of destruction was locked behind barriers that could not be broken without destroying everything. My people's final gift, Nara explained. They ensured that their mistakes could never be repeated. The vault will share knowledge freely, but power remains sealed until a species demonstrates true wisdom. So far, only your species has come close. Because of Daewon, Jiwoo said. Because of what Daewon represents. His choice to prioritize connection over conquest, to value another being's well-being over personal gain. These are the qualities my people's test was designed to recognize. Captain Tae Yang leaned back in his chair. Central Command will want proof. They will want to send teams to verify your claims. They can try, Nara said calmly. The vault will respond to them the same way it responded to everyone else. It will test them. Most will fail, but some might pass. Perhaps, if they approach with genuine curiosity rather than greed. If they see the vault as a teacher rather than a treasure chest. Your species has potential. You are young, reckless, emotionally driven. But you also have something rare. What's that? Tae Yang asked. Hope. Despite everything you have faced, despite your wars and conflicts and countless mistakes, you continue believing that tomorrow can be better than today. That is a powerful quality. Daewon felt a warmth in his chest. Through their connection, he could sense Nara's genuine admiration. She had experienced his memories during their merger, had seen humanity's full history. She knew about the wars, the genocides, the environmental destruction, the countless ways humans had hurt each other and their world. But she had also seen the other side, the art and music, the acts of kindness between strangers, the parents sacrificing for children, the scientists working to cure diseases, the ordinary people doing extraordinary things simply because it was right. We are far from perfect, Daewon said quietly. Humans have done terrible things. We still do terrible things, but we keep trying to be better. That is what your people do not yet fully understand, Nara said, addressing the room. Every species believes they are special. Every civilization thinks they have something unique to offer. But most species stop growing once they achieve a certain level of technology. They become static, convinced they have reached the pinnacle of development. And humans? Jiwoo asked. Humans are infuriating because you never stop changing. You never accept that things must be a certain way. You see a wall and immediately begin planning how to climb over it, dig under it, or simply run through it. You are unpredictable, chaotic, and absolutely vital to this galaxy's future. That is not a perspective Central Command will appreciate, Tae Yang noted. They prefer predictability and order. Then they will need to adapt. Because the universe is not orderly. It is messy and complicated and full of beings who do not fit into neat categories. Humanity's strength is that you understand this instinctively. Over the following days, news of the vault's opening spread throughout known space. Delegations from dozens of species arrived at the research station, all demanding access, all claiming rights, all bringing their own agendas. Daewon and Nara met with each group. Some were hostile. Some were curious. Some were desperate for the power they believed the vault contained. None of them passed through the entrance without triggering defensive responses. It is as I predicted, Nara said after the 5th failed attempt. They see obstacles instead of opportunities. They see me as a barrier rather than a guide. Give them time, Daewon suggested. Humans weren't always good at this either. We had to learn. You are still learning. Exactly. And we will keep learning. That is what we do. One delegation stood out from the rest. They were from a species called the Velon. Tall beings with crystalline skin and eyes like dark pools. Their leader, whose name translated roughly as Binna, approached Daewon with genuine curiosity rather than demands. "We have been studying your species," Binna said. "Your success with the vault intrigues us. We wish to understand how you achieved what so many others could not." "We talked," Daewon said simply. "We listened. We chose trust over suspicion. That seems dangerously naive." "It is dangerous. Trust always is. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is being alone in a universe full of potential friends, seeing enemies everywhere." Binna's crystalline features shifted in what might have been surprise. "You believe we could be friends? Our species have never met before today. Sure, why not? You seem reasonable. You are asking questions instead of making demands. That is a good start." Nara manifested beside Daewon. "The human speaks truly. Your approach differs from the others. You come seeking understanding rather than power. This is the mindset my people hope to encourage." "Could we enter the vault?" Binna asked. "You could try," Nara said. "But I would recommend talking first. Learning. Understanding what the vault represents before attempting to claim anything from it." Binna considered this. "That is wise counsel. Perhaps we have been too focused on the destination rather than the journey." "Now you are thinking like a human," Daewon said with a grin. "That sounds exhausting." "It absolutely is." They talked for hours. Binna shared stories of the Velan civilization, their struggles and triumphs. Daewon spoke of Earth, of humanity's messy history and uncertain future. Nara added context, explaining how different species approach similar problems in different ways. By the end, Binna had not entered the vault. But they had gained something more valuable. They had gained perspective. "Your species has taught us something today," Binna said before departing. "You have reminded us that wisdom is not about knowing everything. It is about remaining open to learning from anyone." After the Velan delegation left, Jiwoo approached Daewon. "You are changing things. Word is spreading that humanity achieved something impossible. Other species are starting to look at us differently. Is that good or bad? Both, probably. We are no longer just the young species that stumbled into space. We are the species that freed an ancient guardian. That brings opportunities and dangers in equal measure." Daewon looked at Nara. Through their connection, he could feel her contentment. For the first time in 10,000 years, she had purpose beyond simply guarding a sealed vault. She had the opportunity to teach, to share, to connect with beings from across the galaxy. "I think it will be okay," he said. "Humans are good at adapting to complicated situations. We are also good at creating complicated situations," Jiwoo pointed out. "That too. But at least it will never be boring." Nara's energy form pulsed with what Daewon had learned to recognize as amusement. "I have existed for 10 millennia. I have experienced isolation, duty, loneliness, and eventually connection. Your species has brought more chaos into my existence in a few days than I experienced in all those years combined." "You're welcome," Daewon said cheerfully. "I did not say I was grateful, but you are." "Yes," Nara admitted, "I am. For all your flaws, for all your species' imperfections and mistakes and ridiculous emotional DD1 stood on the observation deck of the research station, watching ships arrive and depart. The dead world below had become one of the most important locations in known space. Not because of weapons or power, but because of what it represented, proof that ancient mysteries could be solved through understanding rather than force. Nara's energy form materialized beside him. She had learned to move freely throughout the station now, no longer bound to the vault's physical location. Her consciousness remained connected to the ancient structure, but she was finally truly free. "You are thinking about home," she observed. "How did you know?" "Because you always stand here when you miss Earth. Your body language changes. You become quieter, more contemplative." Daewon smiled. 3 months of constant proximity had taught them to read each other well. "I received a message from my family today. My nephew just turned 5. He asked when Uncle Daewon is coming home to tell him stories about aliens." "And what did you tell him?" "That I made a friend who has better alien stories than I could ever invent. I told him I would bring her to meet him someday if she wanted to visit Earth." Nara's form pulsed with complex emotions. "I have not left this system in 10,000 years. The idea of traveling to another world, of seeing a living civilization rather than ruins, is both exciting and terrifying. You do not have to decide now. The invitation stands whenever you are ready." They watched the ships in comfortable silence. Then Nara spoke again. "We have received another request. The fourth one this week. Let me guess. Another species wants us to help them access a similar vault on their territory? Yes. The Dwarven Collective has discovered ruins they believe were built by the same civilization that created my people's technology. They want our expertise in navigating ancient sites without triggering defensive systems. Daewon had expected this. Word had spread about how he and Nara worked together, how they approached ancient structures with respect rather than greed. Other species wanted to replicate their success, to unlock secrets that had been sealed for millennia. "What do you think?" he asked. "I think we should help. But carefully. Not every species is ready for what they might find. Not every ancient site contains benign technology. So we become consultants, teachers, galaxy-hopping archaeological guides. Is that not what you have always wanted? To explore, to discover, to understand? I guess it is." Daewon grinned. "Though I thought I would do it alone, not with an ancient guardian as my partner. Life rarely proceeds according to plan. Tell me about it." Jiwoo entered the observation deck, carrying a datapad. "You two need to see this. We just received word from Central Command. There is a situation developing." They moved to the conference room where Captain Tae Yang was already waiting. His expression was grave. "What happened?" Daewon asked. "The Krell Dominion has made their move," Tae Yang said. "They have assembled a fleet and are demanding access to the vault. They claim that ancient technology belongs to all species, not just humanity. If we do not grant them entry, they are prepared to take it by force." Nara's form flickered with agitation. "The Krell. They were among the first species to attempt the vault after it was built. They failed catastrophically. 17 of their warriors were entombed before they retreated. That was 10,000 years ago," Jiwoo said. "They have had time to build resentment." "Time does not change fundamental nature," Nara replied. "The Krell value strength and conquest above all else. They will never pass the vault's test." "Maybe we can talk to them," Daewon suggested. "Explain what the vault requires. Show them that force will not work." "The Krell do not value words as humans do," Tae Yang said. "They respect only power. Then we show them a different kind of power, the power of knowledge, of understanding, of connection. That sounds nice in theory, but their fleet has enough firepower to level this entire station." Daewon looked at Nara. "Can the vault defend itself?" "It can. But if it activates full defensive protocols, the resulting energy discharge could destroy everything within several light minutes, including all the ships currently in orbit, including this station. So we are back to talking being our best option." "I will go with you," Nara said. "The Krell know of me. My presence may give them pause." 2 days later, Daewon and Nara stood in a shuttle approaching the Krell flagship. It was a massive vessel, bristling with weapons designed to intimidate. Captain Tae Yang had wanted to send a military escort, but Daewon had refused. This meeting needed to be about trust, not shows of force. The Krell commander, whose name translated as Vorak, met them in a chamber designed to make visitors feel small and insignificant. He was huge, easily 3 meters tall, with armored plates covering his body and eyes that glowed with barely contained aggression. "The human who passed the ancient test," Vorak said, his voice like grinding stone, "and the guardian who let him live. An interesting pair." "We come to talk," Daewon said calmly. "To help you understand what the vault requires. We do not need understanding. We need power. Our species has fought for survival for millennia. We have earned the right to ancient weapons. The vault does not contain weapons anymore, not accessible ones. It contains only knowledge and lessons." Vorak laughed, a harsh sound. "Lies. Every species protects its advantages. You claim the weapons are sealed to prevent others from taking what you have claimed for yourselves." "That is not true," Nara interjected. "The weapons are sealed because my people understood that some knowledge brings only destruction. They designed the vault as a teaching tool, not a treasure chest. Then you are fools. In this galaxy, only the strong survive. Weakness is death." Daewon stepped forward. "Is that why your species tried to enter the vault 10,000 years ago and failed? Because you were not strong enough?" Vorak's eyes blazed. 17 warriors died because of your guardian's tricks. 17 warriors died because they chose violence over understanding. The vault responded to their intentions. And you? What makes you so special? Why did you survive when so many others failed? Daewon considered the question carefully. Because I did not try to conquer the vault. I tried to befriend its guardian. I chose connection over conquest, trust over suspicion. That is what the test measures. Not strength or intelligence or technological capability. It measures the ability to look at something alien and choose cooperation. That is weakness. No, that is strength. Real strength. The kind that builds civilizations instead of destroying them. Vorak moved closer, towering over Daiwan. You speak bold words for such a small being from such a young species. My species may be young, but we have learned something important. We have learned that being alone in the universe is worse than any defeat. We have learned that friends are more valuable than weapons. We have learned that understanding is more powerful than conquest. Pretty philosophy. But philosophy does not win wars. You are right. But neither do weapons if you have no one left to fight alongside you. The Krell are powerful, Commander Vorak. Everyone knows this. But imagine how much more powerful you could be with allies who trusted you instead of feared you. Vorak was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice different now. Less aggressive, more thoughtful. I have reviewed your records. You nearly died in the vault. You were entombed, crystallized, moments from permanent death. Yet you speak of trust and friendship. How? Because I was not alone. Nara was with me. We faced the impossible together. And together we found a solution neither of us could have discovered alone. That is what partnership means. The Krell do not have partnerships. We have hierarchies, leaders and followers. Maybe that is why you have struggled. Maybe that is what the Vault has been trying to teach all along. Nara moved closer to Daiwan, her energy form radiating calm. Commander Vorak, your species is strong. This is undeniable. But strength without wisdom leads only to destruction. My people learned this too late. They had all the power in the universe and they still destroyed themselves. Do not repeat their mistake. Vorak stared at them both. Finally, he made a gesture that Daiwan's translator interpreted as respectful acknowledgement. I will consider your words. The Krell fleet will not attack today, but this conversation is not finished. I hope not, Daiwan said, because the galaxy is too beautiful to face alone, and too dangerous to face without friends. They returned to the research station without incident. Jiwoo met them at the docking bay. Central Command is calling your meeting a diplomatic miracle, she said. The Krell have never backed down from a show of force before. They did not back down, Daiwan corrected. They chose to think. There is a difference. Either way, you two are becoming famous, or infamous depending on who you ask. Nara's form pulsed with amusement. Fame was not part of my duties as a guardian. Better get used to it. This is only the beginning. She was right. Over the following weeks, more requests came in. More species wanted to learn, to understand, to access their own ancient mysteries with Daiwan and Nara's guidance. Some approached with genuine curiosity. Some came with hidden agendas. All of them received the same treatment: honesty, patience, and an invitation to choose.